All right, so quiz number 4 review. Okay, this is for tomorrow's quiz. We're going to start off with the stuff from section 2.2c, which is solving absolute value inequality. So I'm going to put that right here. Solving absolute value inequalities. Okay, so that's the topic of what we're about to do right now. So we're just going to solve them. So here's number 1. The absolute value of x minus 3 is less than or equal to 8. And when I draw my graphs for these, my number lines, I'm going to be a little bit lazy. I'm going to cheat a bit. Okay, so you guys will already have them pre-drawn. Hopefully they came out right this time. I know last time 2 of them were a little off. But remember when you're doing these problems, guys, I'm going to use a color green here just to kind of give you something that you were supposed to know before. Okay? Absolute value of something, and if it points like this is an AND. Okay? If you have absolute value of something and it's pointing this way, this is an OR. Okay? So make sure you guys remember that, because when you draw your graph, you should be able to check. I saw a lot of people on the last quiz that we did, you guys were getting AND problems and drawing graphs where they were going away from each other, and then you were getting OR problems and drawing them towards each other. And for some reason, you weren't looking at your answers and saying, that doesn't make any sense, right? If you know it says OR, they should not be crashing into each other. So double check your work. If they say AND, they shouldn't be going away from each other, okay? AND goes towards, OR goes away, okay? So remember that. So this problem is an AND or an OR? AND. It is an AND problem, right? So when I'm done, they better be going towards each other. Right? If they don't, then I'm going to be wrong. So here we go. This is what you need to do. First, you got to make sure your absolute value has been isolated, meaning it should be the only thing left on one side. So right now it says absolute value of x minus 3 on the left side. It's there. It's all by itself. So it is isolated, okay? Once it's isolated, you make the call on whether it's an AND or an OR, which this one is an AND. And then you're going to break it apart, okay? So I'm going to break it into 2 pieces. X minus 3 less than or equal to 8. X minus 3 greater than, well, let me change the color here. Greater than or equal to a negative 8. Okay, so the stuff that changed color, that's what changes when you flip it, okay? So you're going to break it into 2 parts, but notice when you separate it, the second equation flips the inequality and it changes the value of the number to the opposite sign, okay? So, all right, now solve both of them. Now this shouldn't be a hard part from here. Most of you guys do the solving well. You just mess up on the rewrite. So that's at least what I'm noticing. A lot of you guys are okay once you have the 2 equations out, but the rewrite kind of messes some people up. So let's add 3 on the other side as well. So x greater than or equal to is a negative 5. Okay, so I'm done. Now let me make my number line. So my number line, I'm gonna cheat, like I said. I'm gonna put 0 as my reference. Here's negative 5, and I'll put 11 right here. Okay, this is what I mean, but I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna be a little lazy. Okay. So, let's start with x less than or equal to 11. Is that going to be a solid or an empty dot? Solid dot, right? Going which direction? Left. Left, okay. We're going left. Okay. And then the next one says x greater than or equal to negative 5. Is that solid or empty? Solid at negative 5. Which direction? Right. Now, since this is an AND problem, I should see them having something in common, which I do, right here. By the way, I see a lot of you guys doing this on your quiz, so good. That's helpful. But remember, my answer has to be shown as one main segment. So this is going to be your answer for your segment. Put it right above your lines that you're doing. That's your solution. Okay? That's going to be your solution for this problem. So this is my answer. I'm just going to put that. You guys don't have to write the word answer. I'm just going to do it just so that you know with your notes. But that's my solution. Okay? Don't draw that black line over here like this. I know I talked to some of you guys. Some people drew it on the side, and I understood what you meant, that the answer is supposed to be two dots connected, right? Okay, good. Show me on the graph. Don't show it on the side. Okay? So that's what it should look like. Now that's an AND graph, right? It's 2 points connecting to each other. That's AND, and that's exactly what this problem was. It was an AND problem. So I feel good that I drew it correctly. I feel good that I rewrote my equations right, and I think I solved it correctly. So far I feel like I have something right. Okay. Could I have miscalculated? Sure, it happens sometimes. Okay. But hopefully everything's all right. Any questions on this one? All right, we're going to do one more. It's going to be an OR problem, and then we'll move on. We'll put it right here. I'm kind of separating the work a little bit. But when we're doing these things, again, I'm just trying to check in to see if they're trying to give us anything really complicated. So I'm going to go with something similar to what they're giving us here. Actually, let me go this way. I'm trying to think of a number to put back here. I think that'll be good. Sorry? An AND? It looks like it right now. Yeah, but remember that we have to isolate the absolute value first. I made sure this is an OR problem. So yeah. So no, it's a good question because I don't know if you guys heard her, but she said, is this an AND problem because the arrow is pointing left? So if it's pointing left, it's supposed to be AND. But remember, you got to isolate the absolute value first. Once you isolate it, things can happen and it could switch signs and stuff like that. So, all right. My first step to doing this problem is I'm going to add 4 to both sides. Okay, I want to get that minus 4 out of the way. So let's add 4 to both sides. So that's going to give me a negative 2 absolute value of y plus 2 less than negative 16. All right, so far it looks like an AND problem, right? But my next step, I have to divide both sides by a negative 2. And if I divide both sides by a negative, what do I have to do? I got to flip the sign. So absolute value of y plus 2 is greater than 8. And now you say, what kind of problem is this? Well, it's pointing to the right. This is an OR. Okay? And by the way, this is like the toughest problem that they're going to give you, something similar to this on tomorrow's quiz. Okay? There's some that are even easier than the ones we've done, but it's supposed to be like the toughest problem that it looks like on your quiz tomorrow. So now that it's isolated and I know that it's an OR problem, I'm going to break this apart into 2 different equations. Y plus 2 greater than 8. The first one is just normal, right, without the absolute values. And then I'm going to write y plus 2 less than negative 8. And I want to make sure I tell you guys this because I have a couple of you guys that do this. Some of you guys work really fast and you do this stuff in your head and you're making mistakes at this step right here because you're not writing out both equations, you're just trying to do it in your head. And some of you guys are able to do it. Some of you guys are in denial that you can. And you're saying, I can do it. And then you do it and you're getting things wrong and you're like, oh, I messed up. But you keep messing up. When you keep messing up, guys, that means you can't do it. Take your time. Okay? If you're getting a lot of things wrong over and over again and then you're having to correct, Why don't you just take the time, write it out this way, and not have to go back and fix mistakes, right? Do it right the first time. Don't be lazy and try to do things fast. Take your time, get it done right. All right, so here we go. We broke it up. Let's go ahead and solve both of these. Minus 2 on both sides. So y greater than negative, I'm sorry, negative. Y greater than 6. Okay, and then we're going to subtract 2 on the other side as well. So y less than negative 10. And again, I'm gonna do this a bit of a lazy way with my number line. I'm not doing anything wrong by doing it this way. I'm just not being precise. But it's okay. I'm still getting the correct points and stuff. So I'm gonna put 0 as my reference. Negative 10 way out here. I put 6 about here. It should be a little closer than the negative 10 to the 0. Okay? So there you go. I mean, not terribly bad. So first one says y greater than 6. So if it's greater, the circle is open, right? Open circle. So at 6, open. Which direction? For the 6? To the right. And then y less than negative 10. Again, less than is open circle. And less than means go left. This was an OR problem. The graph matches, so I feel confident that I've done something right. Okay? So make sure you guys check. Any questions on these? Because we're going to move on. I didn't want to do like 4 of them. They're pretty much the same thing, every single problem. It's just... All right, so let's move on. And we're going to revisit slope. Okay? So we're going to do one of each type of problem for slope. One where they're going to give you a picture and then you just got to figure out the slope. Then we're going to do one where you find the slope given 2 points. Okay? So, I want to remind you guys, slope is thought of as rise over run. Okay? Or, slope can be thought of as negative fall over run. If you go down, make sure you make it negative. Okay? If you're going down, it's negative. If you're going up, it's positive. Okay? So, one of my students a while ago told me, you know how you say slopes can go uphill and downhill? I said, yeah. He says, this is what I think of in order to remember. I said, what do you do? He says, well, uphill, I use more energy, so it's positive. I'm using more energy to go up. When I'm going downhill, I use less, so I think minus. And I'm like, okay, that'll work. So whatever helps you remember. Okay? So rising up, falling down, right? So up positive, down negative. Okay? So that's what we're going to have to remember in a bit. Okay? So here's going to be your example. So I'm going to have to do a grid really quick. So another 4x4 coordinate plane. All right, so go ahead and draw that. So besides calling this the XY axis or the coordinate plane, the real name of this, does anybody know the real name of this thing? It starts with the letter C. It's after a philosopher, mathematician's last name. Well, kind of like that. So has anybody here ever heard of the philosopher René Descartes? Descartes? Descartes is the man who said, I think, therefore I am. Okay, there's a whole story behind that. But this is called the Cartesian plane. Cartesian plane. And he invented it because there was a fly in his house and he was trying to figure out where the fly was moving. So he got some coal from his fire. And everywhere the fly would land, he would put a dot. And he said, it'd be really nice if I could figure out a way to plan out where this thing has been, like to mark it off. So he started making lines and he created a grid and he created this. And we give it his name, the Cartesian plane. So all this came from a fly. Okay? So if you think flies are annoying now you should be more annoyed because they also created some math for you too. So let's put 2 dots here. Remember, you can have horizontal lines, vertical lines, positive slope lines, negative slope lines, okay? So we're going to put 2 dots right here. So is this slope going to be undefined, 0, positive, or negative? Negative. Should be negative because the line's going downhill. Okay? Let's figure out our slope. How many, let me just do little dotted lines here. How many times to go from the left dot to the right dot? How many times do I have to go down? One. One time, okay? So I'm going to write my slope here. I know I have to go downward, so I'm putting -1 because I fell one time. How many times do I have to run over to the right side? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 is correct. Yeah, this is 6. Okay? So it's going to be 6 movements. And there's your slope. You're done. -1/6. If your answer came out to -3/6, please reduce it to -1/2. If your answer comes out to 5/5, please reduce it to 1. Okay? Reduce. Use your calculator if you're not sure. If you get like a 4/16 and you're not sure that it's a quarter, just put 4 divided by 16. It should give you 1/4. Okay? But reduce your numbers. Don't leave your fractions unsimplified. Okay? So are we good with this? If it's positive, you move up and to the right. If it's negative, you move down and to the right. Okay? All right. Besides that type of question, they're going to want you to make sure you remember that slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay? They're going to want you to remember that for question number 4, where all they're going to do is give you 2 points. Let's say 5. Now I'm going to give you a quick clue into your test. There's going to be 4 of these types of problems. One of them will be a positive answer. One of them will be negative. One of them will be 0. And the other one will be undefined. You're going to get one of each. So if you get 2 answers that are positive, one of those is wrong. If you get 2 negative answers, one of those is wrong. If you get 2 answers where they're both 0, one of those is wrong. Okay? You're going to get one of each, a positive, a negative, a 0, and an undefined answer. Okay? Yeah. So make sure that you guys are aware of that. I'm telling you now, so you already know. So please make sure you check your 4 answers. Okay? So, all right, here we go. Remember, I like to mark these x1, y1, x2, y2. All right, you don't have to do this. I do it because it helps me not mess up. So here's my formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I know it's written up there already, but I like to rewrite it so I can memorize. All right, y2 is -6. So -6 minus y1 is 4. I'm still going to put parentheses around my second number. I like to do that just to be safe. Okay? x2 is 5 minus x1, that's -3. So at this point, it's just you using your calculator or just doing it in your head. -6, I'm just going to simplify it, minus 4, and 5 plus 8. I'm sorry, 5 plus 3, which is going to be 8. So this is -10 over 8. Again, don't leave your answer like this. What can I reduce this by? By 2. So 10 becomes 5, 8 becomes 4. So my answer is -5/4. Okay? That's my slope, -5/4. We got one more example. If you're looking at the timer for the recording, we're approaching 20 minutes. So yesterday's lesson was longer than 20. It was 30. So this is not going to take us as long. Any questions on this or the previous problem where we graphed the picture and you just had to count? By the way, I did have someone ask me yesterday during fifth. They said, for this problem up here, could I have written down the points and then just use the formula to solve? Yeah, you could. You could have just given me the points for this, and then whatever those were, you could have plugged it into this equation and gotten the answer without having to count. Okay? But I just told them, not that that's bad. I said, but it's easier just to count. But they're like, yeah, but sometimes I'd rather just do it mathematically. I'm like, whatever works for you. It is easier to do the counting, but if you want to do the whole formula, that's fine too. All right, last thing. Last example. X and Y intercepts. Now remember, the X and Y intercepts, this is where the line crosses the x-axis, so we call it the x-intercept, and the y-axis, so we call it the y-intercept. Okay? So x and y intercepts. And the way you do this, and I'm just going to kind of write it here, is you do diagonal zeros like this. Okay? So let me show you a problem. And in those problems, they're going to ask you to find the x and y intercepts and graph them so you can draw the line. Okay? So here's number 5. We'll put a 2x plus 4y equals to, let's say, 8. So remember, for the x and y intercepts, we're going to do a table, okay, with diagonals. Yeah, good. With diagonals that are backwards in a sense. And then we're going to calculate that stuff based on this equation. So here we go. I want to find the x and y intercepts for this and graph it. So I'm going to put an x, a y, make a table, put my diagonal zeros, okay? And then I'm going to solve. So first, I'm going to let y equal to 0. Okay, so let's let y equal to 0. I get 2x plus 4 times 0 equals to 8. Well, 4 times 0 is nothing, so it's just 0. So 2x equals to 8. And if I divide both sides by 2, I get x equal to 4. So I'm going to put that 4 right there. 4, 0 is one of my points. Now let's do the same thing for x equal to 0. So 2 times 0 plus 4y is equal to 8. 2 times 0 is 0, so I don't need to write that out. I get 4y equals to 8. If I divide both sides by 4, I get that y has to be 2. So there you go. I found my 2 intercepts. Bless you. My x-intercept is this one. My y-intercept is that one, 0, 2. Okay? Sorry? The 2 in the front. Oh, the 2 times 0 part? Yeah. So 2 times 0 is 0, so I don't have to write it out. Yeah, you don't need to put it. If you want to, you can. You can put 0 plus 4y, but it doesn't add up to anything. It's just 4y. Same with the y. When I did the x-intercept, the 4 times 0, I just dropped it because it disappears. 4 times 0 is 0, so it just goes away. So now that I have my 2 points, let me write them down. 4 comma 0 and 0 comma 2. Okay, now let me just graph those and we're done. Okay, so here we go. Bless you. I'm making a 5 by 5 so I can get that 4, 0 to fit. You guys don't have to go by ones. I'm going by ones. You can go by twos and you can make it fit in a smaller graph. By the way, if you ever do change the scale, make sure you tell me. Okay, and this is how you tell me. Right now, this is by ones, okay, because I haven't labeled anything. But if you want to go by threes, make sure you at least do this for me. Okay, 3 up and 3 to the right. Now, you can change it to different things. If you wanted to go by 2's and by 4's, then that means you're going 2 sideways, 4's up and down. Okay? So you're changing the scale vertically and horizontally, and they're not the same scale. Make sure you at least label one value so I know what it's going by, okay? So anyway, we're going by ones because I didn't put anything. So 4, 0 is right here. 0, 2 is right here. So I just got to connect the dots, and we're done. And this is your quiz.